Hello mothers, this video is specifically for you and happy Mother's Day, whether you're a mother of a child or, as people like to say, dog moms, but mother of children. I want to break down different myths surrounding being a mother, reassurance and venting, the common things that we hear, the misconceptions that mothers tell us when they come in, how we help break them down and everything else in between. Before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that like button down below. Please comment, moms, let me know what you think about this video. Let me know if you're working with someone who's been telling you these particular things, and we can kind of help break those down and move away from those reassurance and venting compulsions, trying to chase certainty from partners and everything else in between. And if you're interested in our coaching and webinar services, as I always say, we have webinars every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. UK time. If we're doing about an ROCD part 1 and 2, sometimes we'll have them on Mondays and Fridays, or Tuesdays and Fridays. Please email us at info@ocdrecovery.com and we will get back to you in a timely fashion. So right off the bat, I want to open up with the most common reassurance statement. It's really unfortunate that these statements are still said. They're understandable on why they're said, because when a mother hears this, the number one thing that OCD does is it grips its teeth into the things we value the most. So if you value your family, which most moms obviously do, and they always say stuff such as the children, the most important thing in my life, there's nothing more important to me than my family. This leaves the door wide open because of the rigidity of the values that you're holding. Values, religious principles, self-directing principles from philosophy, work principles, those values aren't the problem. It's the strong, rigid demands on how we hold them. So when we hear stuff such as just live by your values, this is a slippery slope for mothers, because then they go and chase some sort of certainty feeling, and that keeps them in the cycle. So that statement is, you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts have no context. They're just random thoughts. They don't mean anything. You're not a bad person. So I see this stuff on a daily basis by really big pages. And again, it's understandable, but what's unfortunate is when you have OCD or anxiety-based disorders, this is the number one reassurance statement that we hear in the OCD and anxiety community based around mothers. Now, any mother who has OCD, let's say it's harm and POCD, because those are the two big ones where the moral responsibility is jacked up. When it comes to harm OCD, that can take place in many different ways. The fear of losing control, the fear of going against your values. What if I hurt my child and I was rejected by society, lost my job and went to jail? What if I was cooking something improperly and poisoned them? What if I gave them the wrong medication tablet? Maybe you have a son or a daughter who's on ADHD medication and you're constantly rechecking the dosages. You're making sure the temperature of the food is overly cooked. You're making sure all sharp objects in the house are out of sight of your children and out of sight of you, especially if you're in a high anxiety spike and you don't want to lose control and harm them by maybe grabbing a sharp object. The problem with saying you're not your thoughts is it's two things that are wrong. Number one, OCD takes orders from beliefs. It doesn't take orders from thoughts. Intrusive thoughts, images, sensation, urges, primarily automatic rumination that are coming in bullet-type fashion, are being perpetuated by a core fear. So let's say, I'll use my sticky note here. Let's say the core fear is losing control. So you're a mother who has a fear of losing control. So fear of, and I'll just put LC, losing control. And for this particular example, we'll use POCD and we'll use harm OCD, because these are the biggest ones where people, if I lose control, this would be the worst thing ever. So that's the top of the pyramid. And then what happens is this trickles down into intrusive, and I'll abbreviate a lot of this, intrusive images, thoughts, sensation, urges. And I'm going to underline those urges. So the core fear is perpetuating intrusive images, thoughts, sensation, and urges. Those urges are the ones that feel so real. You think, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose control. I'm going to harm them. And then what happens is, because this is coming in that realness, it presents in a 0 to 100 fashion. Military's flying low today. Sometimes the planes are literally like 500 feet above my house. ADHD. So 0 to 100, okay? And because it feels so real, the realness factor, and this is what many people who don't have OCD don't understand. A lot of the people out there that say they've had chronic OCD, I don't think they ever have, which is understandable, because the tactics that are used from the reassurance statements, such as you're not your thoughts, you'd never do this, you're a good mom, that's temporary feelings of happiness, but that never gets you to where you want to go. So remember, Core fear, intrusive images, thoughts, sensation, urges, primarily urges, fear of losing control. That comes with a realness factor. That realness factor feels so real it performs you to do a reassurance compulsion, a venting compulsion, avoidance behaviors, etc., etc. Now, again, I can't go into everything in one video because this video would end up being 5 hours long because there's so many facets. But I did want to break down that reassurance mantra that we're hearing from people in the community that's keeping you stuck. Now, what do you do if that doesn't work? This is a great question. You have to look at your worst case scenario. So let's say your worst case scenario is losing control, losing your values. Now, as scary and real as that feels, you can get to a point in time and patience with slowly chipping away that is unconditional self-like other acceptance, specifically unconditional self-acceptance, which means acceptance doesn't mean agreement. Now, how you learn more about that is the videos on our YouTube channel in Balance. Many of you are watching 10, 12 videos a day. I like bring that up on YouTube in coaching calls and say, hey, are you compulsively watching our videos? And they say, oh crap, I didn't even know that was a compulsion because you're desperately chasing that relief. It's understandable. Then the books on our reading list at OCDRecovery.com underneath the free resource tab. It's about the top right. Scroll down, you'll see the books. Book number 1, How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable About Anything, Yes, Anything. And that's this book right here. This book is amazing, has a lot of great applications of exercises, which will be really good for you to do. I always say on page 96, 97, there's the dib sheet, which is filled out, and that will go through the beliefs you're holding, the dogmatic beliefs you're holding, and then you want to look at all those behaviors in between. I always tell people, you can have a conceptual theory on what your beliefs are, but if you're not changing that with the behaviors, it's really hard for you to make any progress, and that's really important to say. So I do want to spend a little bit of time saying, well, you said to me, well, Nick, what are some practical things? If telling myself, I wouldn't do that, I'm a good mom, I don't want to go against my values, how will I actually go about bringing that down? So let's go over the common ones, okay? So common one, number 1, is Googling, okay? So we have Googling, and I'll write these ones out. That way you could take a picture, I'll screenshot it. If you want to pause it, don't take a bunch of screenshots and put it in your phone because that is a compulsion. So we have Googling, okay, so that's number 1. Then we have venting, so I'll put vent/reassurance. And what venting and /reassurance is, it's not just the, am I a bad mom? It's not just the, am I going to go to jail? Does this mean anything about me? It's the physical reassurance too, being around your partner. Let's say you're a wife, and your husband or your boyfriend, you just call them. You want to be on the phone with them. Maybe it's long distance. You want to be around them on the couch or cuddling with them. So it's not just verbal. It's also physical reassurance as well. So verbal plus physical. And with our children, this could be trying to prove how much we love them by buying them gifts, by constantly saying, I love you. Oh my God, baby, I love you so much. We see this a lot, lots of emojis and hearts, depending on how old your kids are. I work with people whose children are 13, 14, 15, and they're texting them a lot. Are you okay? Do you love me? Etc. So all of those compulsions. The other big ones as well is any type of checking compulsions. Now, this is a major one. I mean, you could literally go for reassurance for mothers on checking for a couple hours, but the big ones, right? Maybe it's food related, poisoning, medication related, like I said, driving related, or you triple checking before you pull out into an intersection. Are you tucking them in at night? Are you triple checking at night to make sure they're okay? Are you making sure that no one thinks you've done anything harmful? Maybe you're around a group of your friends and you're pushing a stroller and the stroller hit a tree. Well, that could happen, but you hit like a bump and like the stroller shakes and you say to your friends, oh my gosh, like did I do something wrong? Or blah, blah, blah. There's a million different checking compulsions. It is important to cover that the automatic checking compulsions, and that's that automatic rumination cycle. That's when, say, you're washing your child and you're getting all the intrusive urges to lose control. That's an automatic process that's being perpetuated by the core fear. So if you go back to that first one, you have that core fear of losing control for this example, fear of being a bad person. All the rumination cycle that comes with intrusive images, thoughts, sensation, urges. The more you try to stop this outright, the more you're going to give OCD the upper hand, because automatic rumination is one of the biggest common mistakes I see with mothers and everyone else in OCD and anxiety recovery. There's a lot of big articles out there saying rumination is something you can completely stop. This is entirely false, because then the OCD sufferer is trying to hone in on rumination and trying to stop it at all costs. Yes, there is a piece of analyzing that you're doing that you can stop, but overall in the majority, a lot of it is automatic. And this 0 to 100 realness, it's being prepared for that and allowing it to do its thing as it happens. So back to the compulsions. We got the Googling, like we said. That also includes going to the doctors, anything else like that, seeing people. Venting reassurance, really want to be careful with your partners. I send a lot of videos to partners, boyfriends, husbands, moms, dads, brothers, sisters. But specifically this will probably be boyfriend, husband, wife, whoever your partner is. Me sending you a video to them saying, hey, look, they're going to be asking you for reassurance. It's really important you don't give it to them. Maybe support them, but you're not going to be able to change it if they don't want to. All those checking compulsions in between. And then there's other ones too, going on different forums, compulsively watching the videos and everything else in between. So the moral of this story is the biggest reassurance statement, the number one thing keeping you stuck is when people are telling you you're not a bad person, you're not your thoughts. We know that doesn't work. Every chronic OCD sufferer comes in and says the same thing. I'm a very practical, straightforward approach in my coaching, mixed with compassion and empathy as needed, but definitely an emphasis on tough love because I think that's missing in the community. But it is important to say, if that worked, why are you on the call with me? Usually in those first couple seconds, 98 out of 100 people in a matter of 25 seconds say, wow, I never thought about it like that. That makes a lot of sense. The people saying these statements, they mean well. They're not malicious. They're not out to get you. It's really difficult to understand OCD and anxiety disorders, especially the complexity of the morphing, the shifting, and the shaping. Thank you so much, mothers. There's a lot of hope. So recap, remember, we got the Googling, we got the venting, reassurance, everything else in between, the automatic checking. I broke down why the core fear is driving the cycle. Really important. This is with a lot of when I'm coaching someone, I don't use sticky notes. I use paper, so I have the paper right here. And I just got a bunch of brand new last night, brand new fancy color markers because I like taking notes for people. I don't take notes every single time because that does tend to turn to a reassurance behavior, but usually on the opening call and then checking calls and stuff like that, I kind of vary how I do that. Remember the books on the reading list at OCDrecovery.com. Jade's videos are terrific. They're really good for mothers looking for hope. Thank you so much, mothers. Again, happy Mother's Day. I hope you have a great day. Go out to breakfast, and I'm sure this video will be out after, maybe towards the end of Mother's Day, but I hope you do have a wonderful day, and there is a lot of hope. Again, that is info@OCDrecovery.com, and enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one, mothers.